My name is Ignacio Dobles, and I'm a social psychologist at the University of Costa Rica, and part of the Costa Rican Liberation Psychology Collective, which exists since 2008.
Thank you, Ignacio. And would you like to tell us something about your involvement in the liberation psychology movement over the years?
Sure. Well, I work directly with Ignacio Martín-Baró, who was a close friend, particularly in the field of public opinion and the Central American situation, and also in the articulation of psychologists from Latin America in the 80s. After his assassination, we try to keep up with this line of work in Costa Rica, several colleagues, and a little while later, international effort of coordination started to shape up. I understand this as a horizon, maybe of possible collaboration with a sensibility towards social change and against oppression. And I think it's not a homogeneous field. This isn't about going from Congress to Congress or writing the next handbook. This is about articulating social movement which we conceive in our collective that we are part of. We don't see ourselves as external to the social popular movement of Costa Rica. We understand that we are part of it, and we try to work with other sectors. And to me, that's a very important issue, because I think liberation psychology has to work with the concrete problems in the concrete settings, and particularly with those that are trying to promote social change, many times in very difficult situations.
And what would you see as the main challenges in the present context for liberation psychology?
Well, I think that context that we all have in front of us is very complex and very, very bad. So there are many challenges. I would understand an effort of this field of collaboration that we could call liberation psychology, I think has to solve a few issues. I think dichotomies like separating politics from psychology, even liberation psychology, has done a lot of harm. I don't think this is an academic endeavor, though I understand in the Latin American sense from Cordoba that the academic endeavor would be very much committed with social change, but this has to go beyond that, and I think that's an issue. And another issue is how to promote an alternative that's also critical within its own effort, and that also develops democratic structures of participation within, let's call it a movement, not just trying to promote it in others, in communities and groups, but also within the movement that's trying to articulate social change with psychological effort in dialogue with other disciplines.
Okay, can you tell us then a little about how you would see liberation psychology developing over the next few years?
Well, I hope to see this effort developing with a much more, let's say, universal collaboration, which would be very important, but also promoting very much this linkage with social and cultural movements, which is very clear in Martín-Baró's work, which was never consumed within the scientific field of psychology. It was always linked with political and cultural movements of its time. And I think there are many challenges in this, and we have to develop instruments, because it's not about the usual academic routine. It's not about the stars in the conference or the congresses. This is about establishing networks that would get people to share what they do, to think about what they do, and even to support others when they need it. For instance, when psychologists have to leave their countries because of repression, they have networks of assistance, and this has been done in different places. So I see it in that line. I'm not overly optimistic. I tend to be methodologically skeptical, but I think a lot could be done, and this bet towards the organization of local groups in a liberation psychology perspective is the best horizon I see at this point in time.
And finally, Ignacio, could you give us your thoughts on trying to take some of the ideas of liberation psychology from Latin America to the English-speaking contexts?
Well, I think this is also an interesting issue. I think we have to put the problems first in the world we live in. I think the problems are getting to be shared in a very clear fashion. We have unemployment, social conflict, we have protests, we have migration, we have oppressive psychological practices. There's a tradition of critical psychology, for example, in Europe, in the United States, and different parts of the world. So we have to put that first, and I think develop collaboration in a dialogical, non-colonial, non-impositive way. And if we do that, it's just a question of dialogue and working together. So I don't think it's about transporting categories from one place to another. I think it's about thinking together and working together on the problems with a collaboration perspective and putting the problems first. I love a phrase from Fernando Ulloa, Argentinian psychoanalyst, who used to say it's not about applying theories, it's about theorizing from praxis. And I think that's about, and if we can do it together, of course I think we can share many things and develop networks, but it has to have to me, it has to have a very grounded perspective, because if not, it ends up being another academic power game, an academic ritual for some people to shine in.